Welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive. This time we're heading over to Vietnam to explore the world of sourcing products.
Sourcing from Vietnam.
Exactly. And, we've gotten some great resources on this from you guys listening. So we're going to break down how to get the best deals, but also make sure that it's a responsible and successful sourcing experience.
And responsible. Yeah, it's finding that balance between cost effectiveness and doing things the right way.
That's a great way to put it. It's like we're searching for that perfect treasure, but it's not just about the cheapest one, right? It's about finding the one that fits with, your business goals, but also, how you want to do business.
Absolutely.
So where do we even begin with all of this?
Well, I think a lot of people overlook this, but one of the first things you have to think about is the supplier's perspective.
Interesting. I usually just think about, getting the best deal for myself. What do you mean by that? Understanding the supplier's perspective.
Put yourself in the shoes of a supplier. Let's say you're a supplier in Vietnam, right? You're dealing with rising production costs and material prices are going up and down. Maybe even you're getting some pressure from your own local market.
Oh, so it's like they've got their own problems to deal with too.
Yeah, exactly. So if we as buyers, we come into this negotiation, with the understanding that it's a two-way street, then it becomes more of a partnership. You're not just trying to get one over on each other.
I like that. So how do we actually do that, though? Do we just, ask them what their problems are?
You don't have to go that far, but research is really important here.
Okay.
Like, you can use platforms like Alibaba to get a sense of a supplier's profile.
Right.
And there are organizations like the Fairware Foundation that can give you some information about ethical sourcing practices.
Okay, so even before I reach out, I should be doing my homework, not just on the product I want, but the supplier themselves, too.
Exactly. See if the supplier is transparent about their operations. Do they have certifications? Do they talk about their factory conditions? These are good signs that they care about ethical practices.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So I'm not just looking for a good price. I'm trying to find a supplier that, matches my own business ethics.
Right. And don't forget factory visits and audits.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Actually seeing how things work gives you a much better idea of, what the supplier is capable of and how committed they are to quality.
Okay, so let's talk about the thing everyone wants to talk about, price.
Right.
I mean, everyone wants to save money. But you said earlier it's not just about getting the lowest unit price. Can you unpack that a little?
It's about looking at the total cost of acquisition.
Okay.
You got to factor in everything: shipping, customs duties, taxes, packaging. Even think about, if you need something fast to you, the cost of expedited shipping.
Wow. I haven't really considered all this extra cost before.
Yeah, and sometimes it might make sense to go with a supplier that has a slightly higher unit price.
R-
Yeah, but maybe they have a really good logistics network, so they can actually get the product to you faster and cheaper. And that could actually save you money in the long run.
So paying a bit more upfront could actually save you money down the line.
Exactly.
Wow. That's a good point. So it's not about, trying to get the lowest price possible from the supplier. It's about finding that sweet spot where everyone benefits.
Right. And that's where building strong long-term relationships really becomes important.
Okay. I want to hear more about that. How did that play into it?
When you have a good relationship with a supplier and you've done business with them successfully in the past, they're more likely to offer you things like volume discounts.
Okay.
They might give you better payment terms or prioritize your orders when they get really busy.
So it's about playing the long game,
Yeah.
building a partnership where everyone feels valued and respected.
Yeah. And that also brings stability to your sourcing process.
Mm-hmm.
You're more likely to get consistent pricing, which helps with your own forecasting and budgeting.
Right. It's almost like having, a reliable partner over in Vietnam who's looking out for you.
Yeah.
But what about when things don't go according to plan?
Well, that's where flexibility becomes really important. And it's not just about, dealing with problems when they come up. Being flexible is a good negotiating tactic, too.
Oh, really? How so?
Okay, so let's say your business is suddenly doing really well and the demand for your product just explodes.
All right.
Instead of, sticking to your original order quantity, maybe you could increase it. Suppliers will often give you a better price if you order more.
Oh, so I could actually use that increase in demand to get a better deal.
Exactly. It works out for both of you. They get a bigger order and you get a lower price per unit.
Makes sense.
But now, on the other hand, let's say you're a smaller business. You're just starting out. Those big order quantities might be a little scary.
Yeah, I was going to say, what if I don't have, the warehouse space or the money to buy a ton of inventory. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's where you can get creative with the negotiation. So instead of just focusing on price, you can look at other things, like maybe you can get flexible minimum order quantities.
Okay.
Or you can work with the supplier to figure out a delivery schedule that works for you.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you agree to smaller, more frequent shipments so you don't have to store so much inventory, but you still have a good relationship with the supplier.
Yeah, that's a good strategy. It takes some of the pressure off and makes it easier to grow.
Yeah.
I like this. It's really making me see negotiation as more of a collaborative thing.
It definitely is. And while we're talking about all this, don't forget about quality.
Right, of course. Quality is so important. How do we make sure we're getting products that meet our standards, even when we're trying to save money?
You absolutely have to have regular quality inspections.
Okay.
Make sure your contract with the supplier says they'll do inspections during production and then final inspection before anything ships.
Gotcha.
And you can have a third party do these inspections, or if you have the people, you can do them yourself.
So it's like a safety net to catch any problems before the products even leave the factory.
Exactly. And this goes back to what we were talking about before with doing your research and finding a good supplier.
Right.
When you choose a supplier that has a reputation for quality, you're a lot less likely to run into problems later on.
It all comes back to picking the right partner in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've negotiated a good price. We've made sure the quality is good. What's the last thing we need to think
The
about?
contract.
Ugh, contracts. They're so long and confusing,
Yeah.
but I know they're important.
Think of the contract as the rule book for your whole relationship with the supplier.
Okay?
It lays out what everyone expects and what they're responsible for. And most importantly, it protects both you and the supplier if you disagree on something.
What are the most important things to look for in a contract? I wouldn't even know where to start.
The most important thing is that everything is clear.
Okay.
Every single detail. Payment terms, delivery schedules, quality standards, intellectual property rights. It all needs to be spelled out so there's no confusion.
So no assumptions.
Yes.
No just shaking hands and saying we have a deal.
Nope. If it's not in writing, it doesn't exist. Then look at how you'll handle disagreements.
Mm-hmm.
Does the contract have a mediation clause? How will you resolve disputes? It's better to figure this out before there's a problem.
That's smart. Are there resources out there for creating good sourcing contracts?
Yeah, definitely. There are organizations like the International Trade Center that offer guidance and even sample contracts that you can adapt for your own needs.
Okay, that's helpful.
And of course, talking to a lawyer who specializes in international trade is always a good idea.
So to sum it all up, sourcing from Vietnam isn't just about finding the cheapest product.
Right. It's about researching, building relationships, being flexible, putting quality first, and having a clean contract.
It's a journey.
It is. And having a good map and a good guide makes all the difference.
Wow, this deep dive into sourcing from Vietnam has been really interesting. I feel like I've learned a lot about how to approach it.
Yeah, there's a lot more to it than you might think at first. And the thing is, these ideas, understanding perspectives and building those relationships and being flexible, those are valuable skills no matter what you're doing.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's not just about sourcing.
Right.
Like imagine negotiating a salary or buying a car or even just trying to, work things out with a friend or a family member when you disagree on something.
Yeah, you can use these principles to handle all kinds of situations better.
It's like a universal language for getting things done.
It is. And
Yeah.
and the more you practice these skills, the better you'll get at them and the more confident you'll be.
So to everyone listening, we challenge you to take what we've talked about today and try it out. Don't be afraid to go into negotiations, ready to collaborate and really understand the other side. You might be surprised at what you can achieve.
Yeah, knowledge is power, right?
Mhm.
So now that you know more about sourcing from Vietnam and just negotiation in general, go out there and make it work for you.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. We hope you learned something valuable that you can use in your business and in your life. We'll see you next time.